The most important characteristic of coaching, I believe, is to understand the athlete or the athletes and to understand what motivates them on a day-to-day basis. For some athletes, it could be just the thrill of victory. For some athletes, it could be a particular scholarship opportunity or professional opportunity. It could be something that means a lot to them intrinsically. That's something that makes them feel better as a person.
For coaches working with younger athletes, it's very important to give the right feedbacks to the athletes. Reinforce the positive aspects of the training process all the time. Identify the negative aspects and reinforce again with a positive approach. Positive thinking and positive feedback helps the athlete to mature, to build up a mind specific to a champion.
But why do some people never reach the goals they set, while other people are extremely successful? Researchers have found that 6 basic principles are the key to setting effective goals that will help you get where you want to go. Let's take a look at these principles. Focus on yourself and what you can do. Many athletes worry about the outcome of the competition, the result, or about what others are doing. But to achieve excellent outcome, you must focus not on the result of the match, but on what you are doing in practice and in competition.
You shouldn't compare your score to what other people are shooting, because you're 2 different people. And you can shoot your own scores and they can shoot theirs. Some people try to do that because they think they have to beat the person, and then it just messes them up.
You know, I'd like to go back to the Al Order story, and he tells this better than me. But Al says, you know, the first time he made an Olympic team, the most important thing was making the team. He said the second time he made the Olympic team, the most important thing was beating the competition. He said he didn't realize that the Olympic environment, what it gave him in the 3rd and 4th Olympic Games that he was in, the ability to be the best that he could be without regard to the competition. So no longer did he have to throw something further than the East German, further than the Russian, further than the Japanese athlete. He could throw it as far as he could throw it. And I think that's part of that mental preparation. How much can you do to succeed?
What I should be focusing on is my form, because when I focus on my score, it's like I just forget about my form, and then I worry too much about where my arrow is going instead of what I'm supposed to be focusing on, which is myself.
Effective goals must be specific and measurable. Ask yourself, do they tell me exactly what I need to do and what I need to work on?
Basically, when setting goals, I think it helps a lot to log things in a book. You take the night before in practice, and you got to ask yourself what was going wrong. For instance, in judo, you fight against lefties and righties, just like in boxing or in wrestling, and you have to adjust. Sometimes a righty would have a lot of problems with a lefty. So if you do have problems with a lefty the night before, the next day you want to ask yourself before practice, what do I have to do? Where is he catching me? What do I have to change? Write it down. Ask your coach to go over it and over it with you. And it won't come right away, but eventually it will. And it's better to at least try and conquer the problem, because it's not going to go away.
Well, usually you set your own goals, like maybe a certain serve that you want to improve or a certain stroke. You need to focus on one thing each week, which is better than focusing on a lot of things, because it's hard to improve if you don't focus.
My goals recently have been not to try to get too upset, like on little things. Maybe a referee has made a bad call, or you feel you were cheated by the other player or something. I try to keep calm, and that's one of my goals.
In practice, I would just write down in my logbook, you know, today I'm gonna work on back tension, and I would work exclusively on back tension throughout the whole practice.
Get feedback. Ask your coach what progress you are making toward your goal. For a goal to help you be your best, you must be able to find out how well you are doing in reaching the goal you have set for yourself.
This is a permanent objective of the training process. It's not only of catching somebody doing the wrong movement and show him that. give with that immediately the solution to the mistake as fast as possible, on the spot and on the permanent basis, day by day, minute by minute, every time.
Basically, for my coach helping me set goals, he just looks at me during practices and evaluates my progress, evaluates my techniques, and if things aren't going right, he'll tell me what areas I need to work on, and he'll work on them with me on a one-on-one basis.
My coach comes around and watches me and all the other people, and she gives us feedback on how we're doing that day and how we're looking on what we're working at.
Set short-term goals, which are stepping stones leading you towards your long-term goals.
In my case, in '88, I went to trials. I've been swimming for a year and a half. I got 5th and 8th in the 100 and the 200 breaststroke. And I suddenly realized, I can do this swimming thing. And I said, I want to go to the Olympics in '92. But just setting out in '88 and saying, okay, I'm going to go to the Olympics in '92 would just be way too daunting. It's far too long, and it's too nebulous a sort of thing in 1988, 4 years before. So you have to like move up. You have to constantly make little goals, stepping along the way, because one day and keep moving, keep going through them, even if you don't succeed in what you attempted to do in terms of the little thing. There's always that bigger goal out there. And one day you'll look up from all these little steps you're taking, and all of a sudden there's your big goal right there. And it's easily within reach.
We set our goals, well, I do, set my goals on a day-to-day basis, and just going on the day before, you know, you remember, you write it down, whatever, you write it down, and basically you try and correct that goal the following night. And I set my goals like that, you know, short-term goals, and basically try and conquer that the very next night I practice.
Every athlete has to have goals. They have to have dreams. And you have to have both short-term and long-term. It's important to have the gold at the end of the rainbow. But to get there, you have to have intermediate goals. And they are each competition, each match, each meet.
I had a goal to make the Olympic team. And 4 years out, I was 10 seconds behind the time I needed to go to make an Olympic team. So what I did is, I didn't look at, I needed to make the Olympic team the next year. I looked at, that it just takes little steps. First you got to make finals, and then you got to be top 6, and you got to be top 3, and then you got to be number 1. And you don't have to be number 1, but you just have to go in that progression.
Keep your goals positive. Focus on what you want to accomplish and what you want to achieve.
I think everyone has to be optimistic about life itself. And setting a positive goal gives you the attitude that you can do it. And instead of setting a negative goal saying, well, if I only have done this, I could have done this. I mean, I guess everything in life needs to be positive, and the reason I set positive goals is because it motivates me to know that if I get there, I worked really hard and I dwelled on it myself, and I guess I can get all the glory.
We try to make practices high quality because I don't reprimand them for making mistakes. I think that mistakes are going to be made in practice. I instill happy practice, coming to the rink happy, enjoying what you're doing,